Amber Royer, author of the Bean to Bar Mysteries, which are set on historic Galveston Island, and I wanted to show you a number of the places that are both on the seawall and in the other parts of town that have a lot of history tied to them. Right now I'm in the Harris Garden, which is out behind the historic Ashton Villa, and it's one of the prettiest places out here. They have a lovely gazebo, and it used to be the tourist center. When I came to Galveston when I was little, the first thing I always wanted to do was visit the seawall because, you know, it was the beach and there was the certificate drop-off, so it was exciting and cool to look over the edge. And so of course it's going to play a role in my books. My characters do indeed wind up at Pleasure Pier, and they are driving on the Seawall Boulevard. Behind me here you see Pleasure Pier, and that is an interesting thing because it used to be the flagship hotel until one of the hurricanes kind of demolished the hotel, put a hole straight through the middle of it. And so they made it into Pleasure Pier, which has a full amusement park on it. And there's history to that too, because before it was a hotel, it was a boardwalk pier. And so everything kind of just came full circle when they did that. Right across from the pier you also have Murdoch's bathhouse, and that's actually been there since 1910. It's a store, but there's also a place where you can sit in these white rocking chairs, and it's shaded and you can just watch the ocean pretty quietly. It's one of my favorite spots to stop at. Here's a monument to the seawall and how long it took them to raise the ground around this whole area. They didn't want to have another disaster like the 1900 hurricane, and the seawall and all the jetties out there helped to prevent this. So if you look, those jetties are spaced out so that they break the waves when they're coming in and lessen the severity of a storm should it hit again. When you look at what got rebuilt after certain hurricanes and what did not. For instance, Murdoch's got completely rebuilt after being gutted, but the Balinese room, this is all that's left of it. This little monument, and it's actually, the monument itself is on the National Register of Historic Places, and there's some information about the history of it. There's some photographs, but the structure itself is gone and it just looks out on the beach now. I wanted to give you guys more of a close-up view of one of the jetties, and there's some signs out there, you know, no swimming really close to it because the way the waves work you can get knocked into it. These rocks are above the water most of the time, so if there's a storm coming in and there's a big storm surge, they might not be. They say that if you can surf Galveston Island, you can surf anywhere, and that's because it's hard to get good waves unless the weather's getting bad. So in my book, I have a character who does come out to surf whenever the storm starts coming in. This building behind me is the Rosenberg Library. It holds the distinction of being the oldest continually operating public library in the United States. It was built in the 1870s and demolished during the hurricane, rebuilt in 1904, I believe, as the Rosenberg Library and dedicated as such. It has an amazing collection if you want to know about hurricanes and storm patterns. I'm out front of the Ashton Villa. This is one of the historic homes that they give a lot of different tours of, and it was always my favorite one on the list of tours. I don't know what it is about the architecture. I just like the straight lines, and I like the fencing. They have all of this lovely wrought iron, and there's wrought iron in some of the other ones too. And you know you're in Galveston because you've got this architecture right next to all of these lovely palm trees. So one of the things that I mention in the book are Galveston's tree sculptures. And these came after Hurricane Ike demolished a lot of the trees in the historic neighborhoods. And instead of cutting out the stumps, they left the stumps in place, and several artists decided to start doing these sculptures of marine just scenes. And they're really cool because they're a symbol of renewal in the area in the face of everything that had happened with Ike. And they're on private property, but they're part of a public walking tour. So I'm just taking a picture of the sculpture itself out here. Here's another one of the tree sculptures. This one has some gorgeous birds on it. And one thing I like is the setting that they put it in. There's all of these lush, tropical green. You can see all of the palm trees. Galveston is home to a number of museums, including the Railroad Museum, Moody Gardens, and also the Texas Seaport Museum. And near the Texas Seaport Museum, actually right outside of it, is one of the most interesting museums because it's floating. It's the Tall Chicalissa, and we can actually see it a little bit from where we are right here. The Tall Chicalissa is another artifact of Galveston that had to be restored after being damaged due to hurricanes and to the salt. There was a lot of rust on it, and they had to completely redo it. We got to visit it at one point when they were still in the process of getting it all completely redone. So it was a museum, and then it was closed for a while, then it was a museum again. And the area where we were just at with the Seaport Museum and the Alissa is right near a bunch of the restaurants that have been here since I was a kid. And that leads right over to the cruise ship terminal. And the cruise ship terminal and the idea of sailing out of Galveston is actually going to come into play in the third book in the Bean to Bar Mysteries, which I am in the process of writing. So I hope you've enjoyed my little tour of historic Galveston and all the different sites. Of course, there's more than I fit into this one video. We didn't get to go see Moody Gardens. We didn't get to go inside the Railroad Museum. So much interesting things to do when you visit the island. I hope you enjoy your virtual tour of it through the Bean to Bar Mysteries. Book 1, Grand Openings Can Be Murder, came out February 2021. Book 2, 70% Dark Intentions, comes out in July. Book 3 will be sometime at the end of the year.